All right, final brief segment here. We went so long in the last one. Representative John Ray Clemmons and Beth Roth is with us from Safe Tennessee Project. We're not going to be able to get to all the comments and phone calls, unfortunately, since we just have a minute or two. But there is some good being done, you know, aside from the talk of be it gun control or otherwise in the community. Is there not, Representative? I mean, when it comes to this issue?
Absolutely, and Beth touched on this earlier, and I want to, applaud Pastor Fuzz and a lot of our faith-based community here in Nashville and across the state of Tennessee that are doing wonderful work throughout the community. And we have a lot of advocates and small grassroots organizations out there. Gideon's Army and the Violence Interrupters.
Talking about what?
They're out there talking to youth. They're talking in the community to limit gun violence, trying to make sure that these children have an outlet and they know there's a better way to express their angst or their concerns rather than getting a gun and committing an act of violence. And so Clemmy Greenlee and other organizations and advocates are doing tremendous work across the community. Reverend Marable, Jefferson Street, Reverend Pastor Parker, tons of people throughout our entire community here in Nashville specifically, as well as across the state of Tennessee, are doing great work on this, and I don't want them to go unnoticed. And we appreciate all the work that they're doing.
And there's no question, you're right about that. As we kind of wrap things up too, just Beth, as I do look at the Facebook posts, we're streaming live on Facebook, and the calls, clearly here in Tennessee, as we said from the beginning, this is a Second Amendment state. People love their guns, and their fear is, regardless of what you're saying, and you're saying this is just a responsible approach to maybe addressing the issue, that they think the ultimate goal among, as quote, you liberals, is that you want to disarm Americans. That's what you're up against. Okay, and that's what they believe and what people believe when they love their weapons and they worry and they don't want to lose them. How do you get people like that, and what will it take people like that maybe to come around at least to part of what you're talking about? Is it possible even?
I mean, that's a tough question. We will continue to push for what we feel are very common sense, evidence-based policies that have been shown in other states to reduce gun violence, that in no way prevent a law-abiding gun owner from being able to purchase a weapon with a background check and keep that weapon in their home for protection. Like, nothing that we are suggesting, nothing that we are advocating for would in any way prevent a law-abiding person from obtaining a firearm and having it in their home for protection.
Yeah, I just don't know, John Ray, if someone has to experience some kind of gun violence themselves. I've done stories with folks who did and still support gun rights, but I really was surprised when I saw Walmart make that announcement. And what did it take for Walmart to ultimately make that announcement? They may have been talking about it before, to have a shooting incident at a Walmart, and then they've decided to change their policy on selling certain gun type items. Is that what it takes for someone to experience violence in this manner themselves?
Well, unfortunately, no one should have to experience a death or a tragic event like this to actually sit down and have a thoughtful conversation. This is probably the longest conversation I've been able to have on this topic since I've been in the state legislature. And if I could just, sit down, and it's my job to, like I said, to be creative, to find ways to address this, whether it's talking about education, mental health care, any number of ways to address this with my colleagues. That's my job as a state legislator, find ways to compromise. But it's difficult for me even to have a colleague, some Democrats, some Republicans, even sit down and have a thoughtful discussion about the topic. And the question is, why is that? How many deaths is it going to take before we can at least have a conversation? And that's unfortunate. And that's the political environment in which I serve and in which we all live. And it shouldn't be that way. You expect more of your elected officials, and I look forward to that conversation and openly invite it. Beth and I'll be having another roundtable discussion to follow up on our recent one coming up here in the next month.
In the next month, we'll let people know, and we'll say that John Harris with the Tennessee Firearms Association will be on next week. We'll address many of these issues. Thank you both for coming on. Appreciate it. I'll be back to wrap things up with a programming note right after this.